It's another sad moment in our country's history. The 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, has yet again been indicted by the Biden DOJ.
Fox News alert. Biden's Justice Department has just brought criminal charges against Donald Trump, his political opponent, for the third time in 4 months.
So another indictment? Oh boy. Where is this thing going, man? Where is this thing going? So in this one, we are told that Donald Trump is charged with 4 counts because he knew, according to the indictment, election lies were false. Prosecutors say in the indictment. How is he supposed to know that the election lies were false? So is this an indictment against his unwillingness to surrender power? So let me get it. He lost the election because he pushed back against what he thought was false. Now he's being indicted for having an opinion against what might have happened in the election that he did not agree with. So he's being indicted for his thoughts. Am I wrong? He's being indicted for his speech. Like, this is exactly what it is. This is like, wait a minute. Doesn't he have the right? And this is the entire indictment. If you want to read that, which we're not going to have time to go through this right now. Doesn't he have a right to actually disagree with the election? Purpose of the conspiracy, defendant. Oh my Lord. So there's a lot in here. I think I can look at that later. We're going to look at a few videos. Let's go to the JC Waters show for that one. I haven't done a Fox News reaction video in a long time. But again, Trump is keep getting indicted. It's like in a matter of 4 months, it's been 3 indictments. So it's like there is that Stormy Daniels stuff that happened with that. And there is something he's dealing with in New York right now with Calvin Brad or something. And he has yet to go to court. I think somewhere in December, there's a court hearing waiting for that. And now here is another one. And oh, by the way, there's one in Florida, right? Yeah, there's one in Florida concerning the classified documents. Even though Mr. Biden did the same thing, but he's gotten away with it, supposedly. And there is another one for Trump for January 6th, because he thought that he had lost the election and he knew he was a lie. How did he know he was a lie? That's why investigation matters. How did he know? So he's being indicted for having thoughts that you don't agree with. Anyway, much more could be said. I'm going to react to this one. Sit down and be quiet. I know this is going to be funny. Trump might as well welcome these indictments and smile because it's working in his favor because his polls number keeps getting better. So maybe they kind of want Trump to win. Maybe that's the goal. Or they just want to lock him up. And who knows? Epstein, the man. You know what I mean? JFK. Anyway, let's get to this video.
Welcome to Jesse Waters Primetime. Tonight,
Rita, I'm reliving the same day over and over.
Yes,
Donald Trump, January 6th, more charges.
The wind is really windy.
Biden knows nothing. He's just a weatherman.
I'll turn this damn bus around. That'll end your precious little field trip pretty damn quick.
$400 million for a migrant bus. And Dr. Fauci, arrested?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Fox News alert. Biden's Justice Department has just brought criminal charges against Donald Trump, his political opponent, for the third time in 4 months. This time, the charges relate to January 6th.
Good evening. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters.
Is it me? He looks very uncomfortable, tired, doesn't want to do this kind of thing. Doesn't it look like that? It looks like is it his name Jack or Jackson something? But he is not up for the job anymore. You could tell he's like fed up with this.
And conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens here in the District of Columbia, and it sets forth the crimes charged in detail.
That was Special Counsel Jack Smith, who
Jack
looked
Smith.
like a bedraggled nervous wreck, dripping with anger and highly emotional. The last time Jack Smith charged a politician, the case was so weak it got tossed out of the Supreme Court unanimously.
Yep.
Biden's Justice Department is using obscure federal statutes to put a former president in prison for the rest of his life.
Wow.
These charges aren't bribery, not assault, not tax evasion, not sex trafficking. They're charging Trump under the Act of 1866. It was used against the Klan, and now they're using it against Trump. Here are the specific charges. Count 1, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Count 2, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Count 3, conspiracy or attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. And count 4, conspiracy against rights.
What?
Okay, now here's how they're saying Trump broke the law. They're saying Trump lied that the election was fraudulent when he really knew the election was clean.
How did he know? Is my question.
And that these lies made it hard for the government to certify the election. Now, first, they said Trump called a bunch of state legislators in Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin and tried to get them to investigate election fraud, hold hearings.
That was his right.
Okay? Then the government says Trump tried to get some states to send in Trump electors instead of Biden electors. And only a tiny handful of states did that. They mailed in some Trump electors to the archivist and to the Senate. And then the Senate threw them in the garbage and ratified the Biden electors. That was it.
Where is the crime?
They're saying
Where is the crime?
Trump broke the law when he asked Pence to do the right thing, to not certify and kick it back to the states.
Yeah.
That was a different legal interpretation than many people had at the time, but it was a difference of opinion. And it didn't matter because Pence didn't do it. And then they're saying the January 6th protesters, because of Trump's lies, slowed down the certification for a couple hours.
You're serious?
That's it. Those are the charges. Now, I know this doesn't count in a court of law, but do you think Trump had any idea that he was breaking the law when he was asking Mike Pence not to certify?
Of course not. Common
And how
sense.
are you going to prove that Trump knew there wasn't any election fraud?
Unless you can read his mind to something years ago. Could you go back to tell me what Trump was thinking when he said that the election was fraudulent? Stolen from him? How do you know that he knew? How could you prove by the court of law that Trump knew? So you have text message? You have voicemails? He's like, okay, I knew that I lost the election, but I'm going to give them a hard time. I'm going to use the power that I have to hold back. Okay? I'm going to do as much as I could to push back. Even if he did know, where's the crime? Because he had the right and the power as a president to say, I refuse to secede. I refuse to be lost. I don't believe I'm lost. Isn't that his freedom? Does he have the right to think that? Do you see how evil of a thing that is? This is why I say this is an attack on the man. Here is the beautiful thing. Jesse Waters is going to point it out. Look at the timing of this. Let's keep listening.
And how are you going to prove that these were corrupt intentions if Trump thought he was doing the righteous thing? You can't.
You can't.
It was just politics. It's all politics.
It's always been.
He was pushing it as far as he could, and maybe he pushed it a little too far. But should he die in prison for that? I don't think the Biden administration realizes what it's done here. It's going to give Donald Trump the opportunity to relitigate the 2020 election in federal court. This is what Donald Trump's been dying to do for the last 2.5 years. He's going to have subpoena power. He's going to cross-examine witnesses. He's going to put on his own witnesses. He's going to go out and prove or...
Maybe this is a good thing. Hey, it might end up working out in his favor. I didn't see that side of the story.
Try to prove there was election fraud in Philly, Vegas, Arizona, Detroit, and the federal government is going to have to prove that it was clean in those deep blue counties. That's going to be a fun one to follow.
Yeah. I don't think they can even prove that. I think the goal is to lock him up, make a mockery out of the man, smear his character, and only God knows when they're behind bars like this, a lot of things will happen. Remember Epstein? I'm just saying, it seems like there is something in the air to get rid of Donald Trump by any means necessary. It's obvious. He is not a friend of the deep state. The deep state cannot stand Donald Trump. The people who wants to control this country, who wants to have dominance and power over everything we say and do, they have an issue with this man because he gets in their way.
So Trump's due in court on Thursday for the January 6 charges. So in case you're keeping score at home, Donald Trump will be on trial in 3 different courtrooms next year, an election year, while he's running.
And that makes it difficult for him to do his job. I think some of these people know that Trump highly likely is going to win, but they want to make sure they give him as much trouble as possible. And by the time he goes through these courts and the money that are spent and the anxiety, the stress, it's kind of like what they did with that guy. What's his name? Hassan, right? For revealing those documents. We may not kill you, but we're going to wear you out. We're going to wear you out to the point of death. We're going to stress you out. So it's like, what do you call that? Killed by 1,000 cuts kind of thing. So that's kind of what they're doing here. And again, a lot of independents who just don't know, who's watching one side of the media like MSNBC or ABC or Fox, CNN. Fox News, not so bad. But when they hear stuff like this, they're going to have one side of the story and they're not going to really come to terms to what really is going on. So the more they attack Trump, I think they can make the independents somewhat, a large number, independents somewhat skeptical about Trump. But here is the other thing that's going to happen. There's another group who are going to sympathize even more, and his poll numbers will keep going up. His donation numbers are rising up. So while they may be doing some of these things supposedly to get Trump by any means necessary, the flip side of the story is that Trump is only becoming more popular.
For president while he's fundraising and while he's debating.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be in court on bookkeeping charges with Stormy Daniels in Manhattan in March.
Yeah.
He'll be in a Florida courtroom beginning in May on the Mar-a-Lago documents case.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be in a D.C. courtroom on the January 6th charges, probably in the spring as well. He needs a body double. And this is a D.C. jury in a case overseen by an Obama-appointed judge who has got a nasty track record.
Nice mercy.
Oh, and there's another Georgia election-related grand jury considering charging Trump. So he can have 4 trials next year. And we also may be looking at a President Biden impeachment trial next year as well. So, legally speaking, Trump's going to have to pay lawyers a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the point.
And if he's convicted, he will not go to prison. He'll be freed on appeal. And he'll be able to appeal these federal charges all the way to the Supreme Court, which will take a while.
Yeah.
Probably until after the election. And there's no way the Supreme Court of the United States is going to uphold a conviction of a former president close to 80 years old. That's not how the court operates, especially on something as political as this. Now, the timing of this indictment was coordinated to take the heat off Biden. This is the 3rd time this has happened. You ready?
Yes.
On March 17th, Hunter admitted the laptop was his. And on the very next day, Trump received word Alvin Bragg was indicting him in New York. On June 8th, an FBI document broke that Ukraine paid Biden a $5 million bribe. And the next day, on June 9th, Biden's DOJ indicts Trump on the Mar-a-Lago documents. Yesterday, on July 31st, a Biden insider told Congress that Biden spoke with Hunter Biden's business partners dozens of times. And Hunter was paid handsomely to get his dad to fire the prosecutor in Ukraine. And then today, August 1st, Biden's Justice Department indicts Trump on January 6 charges.
You can't make that up. You can't make this up. The timing is perfect. So this is a distraction from all the Biden's corruption, is to take the attention away from Biden and place it on Trump. Well done. They know what they're doing. This is amazing. Well done, Jesse. Well done.
Coincidence. Anytime Biden's in trouble, Trump pays for it, and the news cycle flips. Now, Donald Trump is a runaway favorite to wrap up the Republican nomination and is currently tied with Joe Biden in yesterday's New York Times poll in the general, 43-43. Astonishingly, after these political war crimes have been perpetrated on him, Donald Trump is in the best position he's been in so far to win re-election. Can you believe that? At which point he'll have to pardon himself immediately. And don't you think for a second he's not going to unleash hell on all of his political enemies?
Yep.
This is only the beginning of politicians putting other politicians and their families in prison.
Imagine what happens when Trump gets back in power. By the way, great video. Imagines what happens once Trump get back in power. And he's going to get it. God spares his life. He wins. There's no stopping this. This A train is unstoppable. Some of these people, they're going to have to run for the hills. I can see DOJ, FBI, and many of these corrupt leaders. They're going to be fired. They're going to be behind bars. They know they're in serious trouble with Trump. Serious trouble. And I think that's part of the reasons why they're doing this. They just hate him so much because they know he could destroy their entire system. But again, it's bigger than this man, Biden and his corruption. I don't even think Biden is smart enough to figure all this stuff out. I think there's a whole system in place protecting Biden. But it's very obvious Mr. Trump must not win the election. The goal is to make sure he doesn't win. But guess what, friends? Too late or too late. This is not how you do it. Actually, well, the thing is, they have no other choice. I was going to say, all you have to do is tell the truth and present good policies. But I'm thinking to myself, like, the Democrats actually do not have good policies. They don't have good values that they can present. They're promoting gender affirming care. They're promoting abortion. So a lot of what the Democrats are promoting are immoral at heart. Now, they can get a lot of voters, young voters, because they play on their emotion rather than their mentality and helping them to vote with knowing what they're voting for, knowledge voters. So they play on their ignorance. That's how they get votes. But nevertheless, truth is not on the side of the Democrats. Their condition is not good. The best way to get any attention is to go after Trump. I don't know what politics will be for the Dems today without Donald Trump. I really don't know. I don't know what many of those mainstream media will be without Donald Trump. CNN, MSNBC, for them, the only reason they exist is to get Trump at all time. But I tell you what, Mr. Trump is going to win. He removes schemes. The Bible says he setteth up kings. And this is Daniel chapter 2. I think it's about verse 22 or 20 or 22. God removes kings and he sets up kings. I've said this before on my channel. If it is the Lord's will for Trump to win, there is nothing anyone could do to stop it.